Hello, and welcome to the episode 3 of Talking Utter Slot with me, Scott.
And me, Pedro.
And for this episode, we're both recently returned, as in yesterday, from the Swindon Scalextric Swapmeet. It does exactly what it says on the tin there. And we'll be talking about what we did or didn't buy at Swindon. And just because I didn't buy anything, I have to talk about what else arrived in the post.
You bought a
Somewhat
sandwich, didn't
delayed.
you?
I did buy a sandwich. No, I bought some biscuits and a cup of tea. That was all I bought. So not really very slottish. But fortunately, pre-ordering and eBay and postal delays have all conspired. That meant when I returned home before the weekend, I had a couple of things which had arrived, and I got something rather nice for Christmas, which I'm going to share. But you actually bought some stuff. Now, before we go into that, I'm going to say Swindon has a nice position in the calendar because it's sort of first weekend after Christmas and New Year. And although it's not been long since the Gaydon Winter Festival, it feels that whole Christmas thing. So it's nice if you've got a bit of dosh or you've saved up a bit of dosh or you see people, go to Swindon, have a rummage, come back with stuff. So I went with some enthusiasm, probably more enthusiasm than normal. And so it's surprising I didn't buy anything. Part of the reason I didn't buy anything was the lights weren't on. Well, not all of them. Couldn't see it. Well, so you got this to paint a picture for people. So it's in a big sports hall, usual high roof for badminton, etc. And it's got the lights. And the place had a bit of an unfortunate electrical issue in the days running up to the event, and basically gave the organisers the option of carry on or stop. And I think quite rightly they carried on because people had booked and people were coming from a long distance. And the lights at the side were on, so you could see, and the tables round the edges were reasonably well lit. But tables in the middle did feel a little bit dark.
It felt gloomy. I didn't realise. I assumed the fuse had blown that morning rather than they knew in advance.
Well, it was. I think that was how much before, but I think there was no real option. The option was there not to have it, and I don't think that would have been the right thing to do. And I completely support them for carrying on. But nevertheless, you walked in the hall, and it was a little dark, which kind of killed it. But there was people to see and chat to, which is always good, and there's stuff to see. And
did you see in the middle aisles there were two dudes who obviously used to be Boy Scouts because they had torches. And they were pointing. That makes more sense now. They had been briefed the day before, maybe, because I just thought, oh, you guys are Boy Scouts. You had torches on you ready, and they were lighting things on their table so people could see. You're interested in this one over here? Yeah, let me shine the torch on it.
Well, it's to add to the going to a Swapmeet checklist for you and I. It's not only glasses, wallet, but also head torch, because I think that you need one of those mounted on your head. So
and I did think I keep forgetting to take a 9-volt battery with me as well, because I think that's quite a useful thing to carry around with you, as long as you haven't got wire wool in your pocket at the same time.
That's very untrusting, though, isn't it? That's you believing the motor would go.
Well, untrusting? No, I'm a trustful kind of guy. It's just reassuring, I think. Glasses, 9-volt battery, wallet, and some cash. Because as I told you, I managed to rock up. I did have my glasses this time. I did have my wallet with me this time, but I didn't have any actual folding stuff. And so I got to the door and asked them nicely, "Do you take cards for the entrance?" No. I was on my phone to John Underwood inside, and out of the. I got there after about an hour. And while I was waiting to go in, who should appear at the door but that young man, Simon from Hornby, the brand manager or whatever he is. Mm-hmm. Thoroughly decent fellow, because he saw me, said, "Hello, how are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm fine, but I haven't got any money." And he said, "Oh, yeah, have £3." And so shout out to young Simon from Hornby, who's a scholar and a gent, and I owe him £3.
Good.
Otherwise, I'm glad there would be very little content for this particular podcast.
So that's us covered that at least in part this episode has been sponsored by.
We've been sponsored by Hornby, of course we have. Only 3 episodes in, and we've got full.
I was going to say it's taking off. I think let's see where we get to the next one. Anyway, having all of that preamble and the difficulties of getting in and see when you get in, what did you buy?
What did I buy? I didn't go mad. You said that you felt or think that Swindon's nicely placed. I don't know. I kind of slightly disagree, but that's only because I get frustrated by hearing about product that's coming and not seeing it in the flesh. And both Gaydon and Swindon are at a time of year where we don't seem to get many genuine new releases in my mind, in my perception of things. And so I go there thinking, oh, yes, going to see new toys, going to see this, going to see that. I mean, I went to Gaydon hoping to see the Scale Auto NSX. Didn't see it. Didn't see any. Didn't actually look that hard, but I didn't see any at Swindon either. And it's like, well, there's a new product there, but it's not on the store on the tables, and I'm slightly miffed. But that's just so. I don't think necessarily it's fantastic place, but if you've got pocket money for Christmas, then yeah. But most of the folks there aren't school kids who've got pocket money from their aunties and uncles for Christmas, are they? They're mostly silver-haired gents like yourself and me, silver foxes like yourself and me.
Steady on. I think the point being though that I think there's that sense of new beginning. Maybe would you be buying yourself anything in the run up to Christmas when all that's going on? So there's that freedom and liberation to go, right, I can go and focus on me. I think talking about the new releases, obviously this past however many months where we've had postal strikes. So we're coming off the back of COVID affected transport links from the other side of the world for years, which were delaying new releases arriving. Then we're into postal strikes. And I know Pendle certainly sort of said, kind of week before Christmas, right, we're giving up now. We're not going to try and send anything and guarantee it coming to you before Christmas because it's just a bit of a lottery. And in fact, that's, the things that I got, which are technically were purchased in late 2022, but didn't arrive until 2023 because of the postal strike. So that may have affected it. My view of it being at a good time of the year just is simply that it's that post Christmas New Year. It's a kind of dark, dank January. What else can you do? It's pretty grim. So
there is that, and there is the whole kind of new year, new financial year. So your budgets are reset, and you can spend.
Budgets. Do you have a budget for slot car?
No, I don't. I just no. So what did I buy? I went with the intention of checking out the young Phil Smith's stall because I'd been in contact with him beforehand. Via the Gaydon podcast, you can pick up on my current Ford Galaxy itch. And he had a couple on his website, and I contacted him, and I think he said he'd sold them, and then suddenly he'd found another one. And anyhow, he agreed to take one over or up. I don't know where he is, across to Swindon, so that I could go and have a look-see. And obviously, inevitably, as soon as I saw, I purchased a very nice Dan Gurney, kind of metallic burgundy Galaxy. I nearly called it Thunderbird. Which has been on my, it's the proper shape as well. Part of my love of the Galaxy is the fact that as a wee kid, I had the Matchbox Fire Chief Galaxy. Did you have that one?
I don't remember that. We should say for the one you've just bought is a Revel monogram model from
Revel monogram. Yeah, it's not resin.
It's not resin, and so it was lovely because it was in its presentation box with a slip case and everything, and it was. So it's probably 15 years old as a model, maybe that kind of.
Is it? I don't know. I don't know the history of those. It's absolute mint. It still had a bit of plastic on the roof to stop the cardboard kind of scuffing up the roof. And I haven't taken it apart yet, but I'm delighted with it. It's a little bit more chromy than I was expecting, but no, I'm happy as Larry with that. I really am, because it just looks like my Matchbox Fire Chief car, except it doesn't say Fire Chief down the side. Obviously, it says Dan Gurney.
Yeah.
Dan Gurney featured a bit. Did you see, maybe didn't. There's a dude, I believe he's triplex on eBay. I don't know how to describe him without possibly causing litigation. But I saw a guy there who I take as being triplex, and on his stall was a Dan Gurney Scalextric's Mercury Cougar, which I didn't know as a model. And I picked it up, and I was very, very tempted, not because I'm a Dan Gurney fanboy, but because I do like the... I just realised, the Mercury Cougar, that's another one from my Matchbox days. I had a little Corgi Sheriff that was a Mercury Cougar. But I didn't buy it because when I flipped it over and looked at it, the ground clearance was like non-existent between the gear and what would be the surface. I just thought
Was
that
this a
looks
Hornsby
wonderful.
one, a Scalextric's one?
It was a Scalextric one, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyhow, I
I've got
didn't
one
buy
of
that.
those.
I did buy that. I didn't buy that. I
They were
also well, go on.
sidewinders. The gear would be quite it'd be next to the wheel if it's the same one.
It is next to the wheel. I don't know whether there'd been a lot of wear from memory. I think the tires still had kind of tread on them. So I just looked at it and thought, there's no way that's going to run on 15-year-old Ninko track that's pitted and got divots in it, which is disappointing because I do quite like the Cougar. I also bought from Mr. Smith. He had a couple of, I don't know how to say it, playfit chassis, those Japanese things for 124th. He had some 132nds as well, which just, I don't know. I've got a real thing about 124th at the moment, and I did go a bit mad a few months back on eBay and stockpiled, because you need to stockpile just in case end of days comes. A whole load of Tamiya kits, including it's not a Tamiya one, is
Don't
it?
ask me. Don't ask me how many.
The M6.
Yeah,
I've
don't
got
ask
a
me how many
124th.
kits I've got.
I've got a 124th M6. Can't remember the brand at all. We're the PlayStation Walking Horse PlayStation one, and hopefully, although now I think about it, maybe that chassis won't actually stretch wide enough, but it'll probably fit one of the others because I bought 5 or 6 Tamiya 124ths with no chassis to go underneath them, and now I have at least 2 chassis to go underneath them.
Okay, this is we look forward to this and the I'm going to forget what I want to call it, a Cougar now. We've talked about Cougars, not the Cougar, the car that you bought at Gaydon that wasn't what you thought.
The Gaydon.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a Galaxy, but it was the earlier version.
The Galaxy, yeah. So the Galaxy, I think there's a Galaxy restoration is definitely on the cards, and maybe
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going to bin it. It's going to have to go in a bath of isopropyl alcohol to get the stickers off it and to get the paint off it and to just. But that's a question I need to ask the internet. Will isopropyl alcohol actually eat the resin as well? Don't worry, that's rhetorical for me to wonder.
Depends on what the resin is made of, I suppose.
I guess. Well, I'll have a Google and I'll give it a go. But that's a long-term
You could ask
project.
my other half because he is a chemist, but he would probably ask you technical questions. So.
Okay. Yeah, which I won't be able to answer. The only other thing I only bought 3 things. Although I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thanks to Robert Learmonth for continuing to organise it and putting it on, and despite the dim lighting, which was quite amusing. The other thing I bought was the club recently retired SCX as classes, which is I thought quite sad because I love the way SCXs aren't like Slottits or NSRs.
So you're not racing any STX at all?
No SCX, no. Which is yeah, but the modern ones have a different motor, so they're not going to be. I don't know how different they're going to be, but they're going to be different. So and there's not that many choices in the modern ones. So yeah, we had a vote and they went. So I thought I would pick up one of the new ones, particularly since the slot outlet were there, the slot outlet from eBay. And they had some Audis and AMG GT3s at 35 quid. I thought, well, even if it's dire, 35 quid isn't too much to burn on finding out how dire it is. So I picked up a nice green one of those, which I've since I took the body off last night, and I was looking at it going, well, how the hell am I going to convert this to analog? Maybe I have made a bit of a faux pas here. And I looked at it, I poked it, I did this and that to it, and then I resorted to Google and found out there's a little switch. What I thought might be some kind of sensory thing underneath was actually a little switch. And you throw the switch, it's digital. You throw it the other way, and it's analog. It's that easy.
So it wasn't my stab the throttle 3 times and.
No, there was none of that.
That's definitely for something. Maybe it's for Carrera then. I don't know. Don't come to me for technical advice. That's the only thing I can say.
Well, don't come to me to talk digital because I have no idea. But it's a nice looking model. I was amazed to find that the motor, which I thought, since I knew they had changed them, was closed can. It's still a sort of semi-open can. It's like the size of a Mabuchi, but it's got the open end of the old RX motors of yore from Scalextric of the past, SCX of the past. That's a curious thing, I thought.
Maybe maybe it's something to fit all the old chassis or something. I don't know. Talking of digital,
Yeah,
it gives me a chance to boast because aside from racing at the clubs, which I did, and I would occasionally win a heat. I don't think I ever won overall or a night. No, I'm sure I didn't. But
did you not
at
used
the
to
one
race at
and only,
Farnborough?
I've been to Farnborough once, and I don't think I won. I was only just to go and visit them there, the new one. But I used to race at
Uh,
Liphook and Farnham, and for a little while down further down the A3.
is
But
that
I was okay. I would win the odd race. But anyway, the point was the one and only Hornby weekend, Scalextric's weekend in Margate that I went on. I can't give you the year off the top of my head, but it was the year they launched digital, and
Uh,
so as well as some presentations showing some new stuff, and there was a little auction of bits that guys are very excited about. The racing took place with digital on a digital layout. And I quickly clocked that the thing to do was to not get knocked off. And
ah,
therefore, to cut the long story short, I won. And I won digital conversion sets, and I won. We all got a car, and I think I may even have a certificate. But it was the only time I ever won anything.
was
So
this you
I
pretending
took.
to be a dealer then? What were you doing at Hornby?
No, you could do it. It was something done through the NSCC, and they may still do it. I haven't been a member for several years. We are about 20 people, I think, from memory. You would go down for the weekend, stay in a local hotel, stroke B&B, and they would give you a presentation on what was happening and stuff. So it was done for the club.
Oh,
Um,
that's nice.
and there's a club car. I will dig out somewhere. There is a car that I got a Mitsubishi rally car from memory. But that was, yeah. So it was the first because everybody was trying to race, and of course digital was a bit slower, and they were just crashing into each other. I just could have stayed out of trouble. And about heat five or
Tortoise and
six,
hare.
I realized people were trying to get me, so I just it was about staying in the wrong lane. And so that was good. I say people, one or two of my club mates were out to get me, shall we say, which is always fair and love in Scalextrics. So yeah, I was rather proud of that, and I still have the digital conversion set, and I've never plugged
Never
it in
converted.
because I thought, well, that's too expensive. I've got hundreds of cars and no chips, and I don't know how to do soldering, so that's not
I,
going to work.
I don't know where you were going with that, but I'm going to butt in with my claim to fame. Um, many moons ago, before the Goodwood Festival of Speed got too big for its own boots, Carrera were there, and I went and they had a track in the back of a truck, and fastest lap of the day won a set. So I thought I have to have a go at this, and I just automatically looked at the circuit and thought, okay, figure of eight, don't want to be on the inside, don't want to be on the outside. I want to be in those middle lanes because they're going to just be smoother curves. And so up against, I don't know if it was a 4-laner or more, up against several sort of like 10-year-olds, I just dominated them, little pesky kids. And I whipped around, won my heat, and thought nothing more of it. Then at the end of the day, just sort of pootled past and said, okay, so what was the fastest? And they said, oh, it was this chap here. And I went, oh, that's me. And I had to walk miles to my car carrying this massive Carrera box because their track isn't small, so their sets aren't small. And I obviously wasn't particularly grumpy at all. Back to my car with a Aston Martin and something else Ferrari Enzo in the set. Happy as
Very
Larry.
nice, very
Yeah,
nice.
there were
Yeah.
lots of little kids by their cars crying as I walked past
Cry.
because they saw me.
Yes.
Suck it up, kids. Get to the middle lane.
Don't worry, folks. If you bring your children to a swap meet, we'll make sure he's not anywhere near them. I,
We have digressed off the spot. I was going to say, did you see anything? I'll tell you what I saw. Let me ask you a question and then jump in with an answer. Did you see Mark Scale was flogging a load of flies at 15 quid?
mint in box, brand new, sort
Mint in
of.
box, yeah.
Again, they were, but I don't probably 15, 20 year old, and that's somebody's collection. It's always a little bit of a mixed feeling when I see this because these are the kind of cars I bought new and still have. So when you see them like that, you think, oh, that's interesting. And you go, oh, that could be me. If I have the massive heart attack next month or something, that's going to be my slot collection.
Cheery thought.
And there's
Cheery
also
thought.
saying, well, that's a good price. That's a good. I'll buy all of those because 15 quid is a good price. And then I think, well, I don't really need any of those. I've got all of those cars with different paint on them. I'm in an interesting stage at the moment because, of course, for listeners who don't know, I'm recently not working. I still struggle to use the word retired. I'm recently not working. So my previously cavalier approach to spending money on toy cars is somewhat subdued at the minute. So I'm not just buying everything that takes my fancy. I'm trying to only buy things which I think I really want, which is an interesting test to go through, especially when you see what I did get over Christmas. But so I resisted all of that. But in the past, that would have been me hoovering up sort of 5 or 6, going, well, it's the price of one car, sort of thing.
I have to
So
say,
that was the only real bargain I saw. Again, I wasn't looking, not to go on.
Oh no, there were other. I spotted several things that I considered bargains. I looked at it. You mentioned it to me. He's over there. He's got them at 15 quid. And initially, I had that frisson of bloody hell, that's a bargain. And then I had the thought of, oh yeah, but that's fly cars, and I don't buy fly cars. I haven't bought fly in probably 10 years. I think they're nice models, but I wouldn't want one because you can't race them.
Well, I'll get one.
You can only race them against each other. And yeah, most of the clubbers aren't.
Possibly not. Some of them are very good. What I did, again, you may remember, listeners won't. My big hope for Swindon, pre-Swindon, was that the rather lovely Pioneer Christmas special editions, the Santa cars on a Charger, I believe, and the red one, the green one, and I thought, there's a recession on. They're never going to sell all of those before Christmas. Dealers are going to show up at Swindon with cars with Santa written on them, with massive discounts to liquidate the stock, and I'm going to move in.
You can hoover them up.
And actually, it took about my third or fourth tour around until I even spotted a couple of them. And I spotted
you did see one?
2. I saw a red one and a green one. And the red one, which is the one I fancy, I shouldn't be saying this because all the dealers will now know that when they see me coming, they'll go, Scott, you want this car. Anyway, so I held it in my hand, and like you, I had forgotten to take any cash. I only had my card. And I think the table it was, I didn't ask because I didn't want to be embarrassed. I think the table it was on only took cash. So I was saved any dilemma whatsoever. But it wasn't particularly cheap. It was at full price, as it were, which is fine. And
which
is only 2 of them in the whole Swapmeet. 55 quid.
Whoa! So for a Santa Claus Pioneer car,
it's a very nice Santa, and this is where I wish we were on video. I could sing the praises of that model for. It's got Santa driving, nicely modelled. It's got an elf in the passenger seat, nicely modelled. The livery is beautifully done. Everything is kind of Christmas or Santa themed, which I think is very good. With the exception, there's only one real logo, as far as I know, on it, which is elf, which of course is entirely appropriate. So I like the model, and I like the idea, and I think the execution is beautiful. So it would tick all my boxes, but I didn't have any cash.
Does the elf have the Thunderslot Mustang driver's helmet, the pixie-hatted helmet? Because he could get away with it.
In my hand, I couldn't tell you. But talking of
I wish I'd seen that.
Well, they're very nice. Yeah, they're very nice. The dealer model that the dealers were sent, and there's a few popped up on eBay, are actually green and red. Rather, so for those of us who can't choose, they're even better. But they are rather pricey. But talking of helmets, what arrived through the post for me, if I may segue into that for a moment, was a purchase that I'd forgotten I made direct from Hornby. So
the ones you forget are always the best.
Well, I was slightly bemused because I got a notification that there was money had gone out of my bank to Hornby, and I thought, I haven't bought anything from Hornby. So I was intrigued when the box finally arrived, and I opened it, and it was the green TWR XGS Group A touring car. Now, from the minute they announced that model, and I bought one of the black Moto cars, I thought, they're going to do a green one, and I hope they do the right wheels, and I'm definitely buying it. And of course, fairly quickly, they did one for Australia, which was green with an Australian livery on it. And I resisted buying that because I thought they must do it in the UK. And sure enough, they did. Announced it for last year, and I must have ordered it direct from Hornby for reasons which I can't remember. It's lovely if you've got the. Yeah, it's really nice. But interestingly, the black Motul car has got this rather oversized, open-faced helmet chap who we've got known and loved since the GT40 first came along. This car has got a closed helmet with an open visor and painted with a much smaller, probably, in fact, if anything, perhaps a little too small. I don't know, but he's got a proper helmet on it, so it's good. And the wheels, key thing for that car were those wheels, and I think it was the only car that raced with those wheels, so that's an interesting investment for them. But it's lovely.
They're kind of like fish things, aren't they?
They're sort of they kind of. I think they were done because they looked a bit like road wheels, and I think you could buy a road wheel which was vaguely equivalent for a lot of money from TWR. But it was the car just looks great on them. The livery's nice. A little, if I'm nitpicking, the white stripes are a little bit too wide across the bonnet, etc. But I've been nitpicking. It's a car. I was an instant kind of I want that as minute it arrived. The other thing which I bought was on eBay, and there's a little bit of a swap meet tale to this, which was a Reprotech Cobra. And the reason I wanted a Reprotech Cobra, despite having got Ninko ones and all sorts of other MRRC ones, is because a guy at the club, Jim, Mr. M, some of you may know, used to race one. And of course, Jim could win with the box the car comes in. He's kind of that good. Anyway, this car I used to love the thing. So it popped up at eBay. I thought, I'm having that. And it's sort of been well used, as it's got different tyres on it, but that's fine. And it's missing a roll bar and a few little chrome bits at the front, but it's fine. It's a race car, bright yellow, black stripes, looks great. And I thought, it's a bargain. Got that for 20 quid. And of course, then at the swap meet, I spotted one in its box with the bits that are missing from this one I bought for 20 quid. So I should have waited to go to the swap meet. So the classic dilemma, you see something on eBay, do you go buy now or do you wait to go to the swap meet? And the reason I mentioned
didn't we say that? I thought we said something when we kept bumping into each other at Swindon. I'm sure, maybe it wasn't you. Somebody said, I've seen this over there. It was me possibly trying to get back to try and find something. And if you don't buy them when you see it at the swap meet there and then the chances are, one, if you can actually remember where the stall was, by the time you get back, it will have gone. That's just the law of the swap meet.
I think so, but I think that's a nice way of kind of self-preservation, isn't it? Because I find I'll come back for that, which is a way of kind of saying, well, if it's missing, then I don't really want it. I won't really miss it. Whereas, but what I was going to say is an interesting dilemma about, do you buy when you see something on eBay or whatever, or do you wait and go to the swap meet? I think, unscientific survey, I think prices at swap meets are generally lower than you would get on eBay, whether it's new I think so. I think a swap meet is a good place from an economic point of view, even if you've had to drive a little bit, and even if you've had to pay sort of £3 to get in.
I think you're right if it's a used thing, not. Sorry, I think you're right. It's cheaper, can be cheaper with new boxed stuff. I'm not convinced that it's cheaper than eBay for used stuff, but I didn't. Okay. I'm actually, as I pause and talk slowly, I'm thinking myself out of this argument, because that Mercury Cougar was only 20 quid, and I reckon possibly on eBay it might have gone for more. Yeah, you might be right. I'll give you that. Yeah. I certainly, the SCX that I bought at 35 quid for a digital car is just ridiculous price. You'd never have got that on eBay, I'm sure. And I'll go and check in a minute and find that they're going for 25, and that would be annoying.
In what's fast becoming a tradition of this podcast, where I or one of us poses a question and then proceeds to answer it without letting the other speak, I'm going to ask the question, which is, what is it you wish you'd bought? And if I leap in to answer my own question, it was the green Bugattis that Hobby Classic, and again, delighted to see Hobby Classic and Slot Addict over. They'd been at Gaydon, they brought stuff, but they had there's this ongoing series of Bugattis which have been done in national colours. blue for France, obviously in different flags, but they had a British racing green pink car Bugatti, absolutely lovely, 60 quid. Didn't have any cash, etc. But that was probably the car. When I was driving back, I thought, yeah, I wish I'd bought that. That looked cool.
There were several that I thought I wished I'd bought, but I was kind of also thinking no. So one that I had seen and was trying to find the stall again for was a very nice. I haven't seen them very often. Ninko Austin Healey. I really am not familiar with them at all. It's probably only the second one I've seen, I think. And it was really quite pretty, I thought. Charming little thing. 33 quid, but it had the NC2 in it. And I have got various adapters to put NC1s in. And I was sore tempted because I'm kind of having a reminiscence moment. I'm fondly remembering Ninko, and I'm also quite keen on some of those like 50s, 60s shells at the moment, or cars, models that represent them. So I kind of regretted not picking that up for 33 quid. But yeah, I kind of regret it, but I wouldn't have. I'd only had it for a wee while, run it a few times, and then probably eBayed it anyway. But it would have been nice to own it. The slot outlet, I think it was, had the slot its Maserati GT Gran Turismo thing. Can't remember the full name of it. They had one of those at 40 quid, which I was sore tempted by, but it was the wrong kind of colour scheme for my eyes. It's too dark. So when it goes into the corner of the club track, I'll lose sight of it. So I have on pre-order the Swiss, I think it's Swiss Racing Team one, which has yellow stripes on it, which helps with the visibility. That was quite good. What? Go on.
I was going to say, take note, slot car manufacturers, if you want Pedro to buy your cars, Dayglow colours.
Yeah, it's got to be Dayglow, but not NSR Repsol livery Dayglow or Martin. I'm bigging up the slot outlet for. Did you see the David Piper Fly 250 GTO? 40 quid. I thought that was it good.
Oh, that would have attracted my attention. Yeah, that would have attracted my attention.
Oh, sorry, I didn't tell you about it. I picked it up a couple of times and thought, because I've seen somebody did a 3D printed chassis recently on Slot Forum for one of those, and I thought, but I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I wouldn't be able to race it, and it would have just been an itch that I've scratched, sat it on the shelf for a bit, and then gone, that needs to go in the eBay pile.
Well, this is something
that I do regret. What? The eBay pile?
Well, no, I was going to say, I think something that's worth investigating later is about, you see that itch you're going to scratch. Sometimes you see a car when it's new and you think, oh, I quite like that, but I'm not going to get it. And it sort of niggles and worms away. And you may see someone else race it and you think, oh, yeah, that looks quite good. And then you sort of see one for sale and you think, oh, yeah, I wish I'd kind of got one of those. And eventually you end up owning it. Or there's cars that come out where you think, yeah, I've got to have that now. And then you maybe never use this. I think it's interesting, the motivations that we have, and some things are slow burners that kind of creep up on you and justify themselves over the long term. Other ones are.
I think I'm guilty. Instant purchase. I think I'm guilty of getting too giddy when a launch happens, or as is going to happen later this week. Scalextric announce what they're going to do, and I'll go, oh yes, I want that, I would like this, I need this. And then, I don't know, over a period of time, I kind of go, well, no. I'm restricting the amount of pre-orders I put in, because half the time I feel like after a wee cooling off period, I think, no, actually, I don't want that. Like, I thought I really wanted the Lotus Esprit, and then I just thought a bit more about it and thought, no, I don't. So that's... Yeah, I'm trying to be much more careful about the things that I do pre-order and I don't, and I'm also trying to remember more about what I've pre-ordered and what I haven't, because of the way the transport's working at the moment, it's very easy to forget. Well, I was convinced I'd pre-ordered one of those Carrera Big Merc tank jobs. I must go into my Pendle account and just check, but I didn't get one in the post. But then I thought, okay, I haven't got one in the post. You know what? That's probably not a bad thing. I thought I'd pre-ordered it. It didn't arrive, and actually I thought, yeah, okay, on balance, not too worried about that.
No, I know that feeling.
The other thing, I didn't mention it. Sorry. The other thing, there were two dudes on a stall sort of near the entrance, and they had a few 124ths, and one of them they had was I think is it a TTS, the BRM Escort Mark 1, yellow and green, lovely, peachy, unused, boxed, and they wanted 75 quid for it. That was a bargain. Fortunately for me, I didn't have any cash and they weren't taking cards. But that was, someone should have hoovered that up. I didn't understand why they didn't have it out of its box. Basic sales strategy.
I saw you asking about a more modern BMW 3 Series, I think. Or was that me, Mister? I thought you
I
were
did
asking
manhandle a couple of those. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did manhandle a couple of
They were
SCX. They weren't.
they were 40 quid. No, these were 124th, I'm sure. Was it a Scale Auto? Was it a BMW? Seemed to be about 40 quid, which I thought was a good price for those. But I mean, 124th
Oh,
is. I don't know.
Not you.
The only 124ths I have were things that I bought for club classes and raced once or twice, and that was it. And I'm kind of, they're kind of curiosities rather than they're slower and they're not any better models. And 132nd is it for me.
They are curious. Yeah, I like their chunkiness. They're just a bit different, and I kind of like them for that reason. I think I was looking at. I'm going to say it was Weevils, but they'll turn around and say we weren't there. But I thought it was
They were.
Weevils stalled. They were there. There was somebody had quite a few bits of Carrera 124, which I drooled over for a wee while before I thought, oh, hang on, they're Carrera underneath. Nah, and moved on. But they're quite nice. I do like 124, but I just don't have the space to store the darn things. Is one thing.
Oh, well, that's the issue. Well, one of the possibly good point to kind of see that for the next thing we're going to be covering, with some excitement and then possibly some disappointment, is the range
and possibly anger.
Is it worth getting angry about? I don't know. The range announcement from Scalextric, which as we're recording this is literally 24 hours away. So some might say we should have waited, but hey, why should we do that? I think Carrera I've certainly seen a list of what Carrera are going to be bringing out, and I've seen one or two mentions of what slot it might be bringing out. So, but Scalextric's home team and all that, and as in home UK
and that nice
team,
Simon who lends money left, right, and centre,
and the man that you're indebted to, that the world now knows.
Yeah, who has sponsored this podcast, brought to you by Simon from Hornbill. For the avoidance of doubt and any litigation, we are not sponsored by Hornby Holidays. Simon is just a nice man.
Just a nice man. Takes pity on you turning up at your second straight swap meet without cash. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying it's like a habit, but
amateur.
But anyway, we're going to look at through the list, and we'll talk about that, what we're excited about, and what we're pleased about, what we'll be placing instant orders on, or perhaps as Pedro's just said, thinking about it for a little while before we then place an order.
Yeah, mulling over.
Yeah. So that's going to be the next one, which will hopefully be not too far away. And then swap meets, physical meetings. It could be Milton Keynes if we all go to that one. But only a couple.
I'm not sure I will, but I'm tempted.
Good.
I just realised the Scalextric's release. We can label the podcast as Scott and Pedro react to the Scalextrics, because apparently that's what you do on YouTube. You put up videos and podcasts and things of reacting to something.
Is that you're going to agree to doing it on video then?
No. I have a face for radio, and I'm keeping it that way.
Dear listeners, sooner or later I'll convince them we can do the video.
Can I just the other thing that
waffling on about?
The other thing that amused me about Swindon, which I have thought for quite a long time, generally when you go on eBay,
that's a sentence no one ever says. What amused me about Swindon?
I want to know just how many. I think they're called GD Slot as a brand. Super GT cars came into this country, because at any given time there always seems to be quite a few of them on eBay, and it made me smile as I walked around Swindon's gloomy hall that there were several stands that had GD Slot Lexus SC430. Is it? You'll know. They were I think they were 20. One may have been down to 15 quid.
Well,
No one's
I'm
ever.
going to tell
I
you.
think the end. We know the end of days is coming when those have sold out. Finally.
Have you got one? Have you ever had one?
No, I have not. I
They
did have those.
well,
I had a set of Takaras, but I never went for the GD slot.
so the G slot. So the
Is it G
I
slot?
obviously I bought some because there were Toyotas and Lexuses, so I had to have one.
Ah,
And I only recently took it out the box, and it comes with two
you
sets.
are such a collector.
Well, no, just because it was like it's two sets of tires. There's some racing tires in it, and there's some display tires. And the tires it's on in the
Mm,
box are far too tall. And you think, oh, this is a stupid clunky toy. The chassis has got a million screws in it, so you can tune it and do all this. Chassis it's like a little radio control chassis. It's amazing. Um, and when you
really?
put the racing tires on, round my admittedly twisty little polycar track, it's as quick as the sidewayses and the slotters. So
No.
um,
Are you saying I
don't
should
be
have bought
too.
one?
I think as just one to be into to look under the cover, as it were. They're
Mm.
they're more interesting than I thought they were going to be. As I say, I bought one
Oh.
15 years ago or whatever it was, and only got round to opening the box late last year. Amazing. So,
Who was it? Somebody did an NSX, the earlier bodywork NSX. I can't remember. It was a small
Cartrix.
manufacturer, and it was a Cartrix. It was, and I had one of those, and it was a real disappointment. And I kind of put G slot, GD slot in the same. I just pigeonholed them unfairly, possibly by the sounds of it, as a nice. It's a car I like the look of, but as a model, it's going to be a bit rubbish. So don't bother. Save your penny, Pedro. Mm.
Next time you see one,
Okay.
well, of course, the who's got them in stock will have listened to this, and the prices will be going up. So that's the kind of
Yeah.
effect. When that happens, we know we're actually having some influence on the market. So it's not
That's what we
happening
need to
yet.
do, right? What we need to do is agree what we're going to up,
Sell.
go out, buy a lot of them, put a podcast out with all our gazillion listeners, force the prices up, and sell.
Is that some sort of insider
We'll be
trading? I don't know.
millionaires.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think we're going to ever
Okay,
have
so
that kind of influence.
no, I'm fine with that. So a wrap up then. Maybe speak to you later in the week, and we'll put something out about the list.
Yes, so we'll tune in tomorrow. We won't react. I mean, I think it's too soon for us to be watching live
I'm saying react.
and commenting like the
Oh my
draw
god,
for
no.
the World Cup or something.
Someone's already made the point that I think driver number 8 made the point that Hornby basically it's Airfix, Scalextric, probably the railways as well, all coming off the same server, all the lists switched on at the same time tomorrow morning at whenever o'clock, which means their server will just fall over and you won't be able to get
Well,
in.
no. Well, your previously mentioned benefactor pointed out that they've got nice, shiny new servers, and that this didn't happen
Did he?
last year.
Oh, okay.
And therefore
Oh,
it's
okay.
unlikely to happen this year. But I mean,
I
what a
sit
nice
corrected.
problem for them to have, there's so much
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
I think I don't know the order though. I think Scalextric is up first, then Airfix is in the afternoon. I don't know when Hornby is, so I think they're staggered.
They've
So it's
learned
not
their lesson by the
all
sound of
at
it.
once. So I'll be looking at
Cool.
the Airfix one as well because that's another small addiction of mine.
Okay. All right.
That
Well,
won't necessarily finish on here. Okay, well, listen, as there's something to look forward to, possibly. Thank you for listening, if you've listened this far, and we'll speak to you again soon. Bye.
all right. Take care, Scott. Bye.
Okay, cheers.